Montessori Grandma. Episode 44. Zoology Part 3. First Classification of the Animal Kingdom.
Zoology Part 3, First Classification of the Animal Kingdom, Part 1. A Montessori lesson written and presented by Geeta Vijayachandran. The Montessori curriculum tends to give children opportunities to learn about fascinating areas of study very early in their school life. Science is no exception, and one major component of a Montessori elementary education is the study of zoology. The zoology program starts with the story of life. Here children are introduced to the evolution of life. Life started in the ocean. It started with one-celled life and moved on to multi-celled life. That is, from the smallest amoeba to the largest blue whale. Children get interested when the story is said, and this leads to the study of zoology. After the children explore the internal and other parts of animals, we can offer the next topic called the first classification chart. There are two charts, one for vertebrates and another for invertebrates. The chart shows the child how each of the animals are classified. Kingdom, division, phylum, class, and order are looked at. The first classification of the animal kingdom, part 1. The plan of work is presentation 1, phylum of invertebrates. Presentation 2, classes of invertebrates. Presentation 3 is order of vertebrates. This is a chart of the first classification of the animal kingdom, invertebrates. You can see the kingdom, division, phylum, class, and order here. We offer this in a very systematic way. This is a classification of the animal kingdom vertebrate chart. And here you can see kingdom, division, class, and order of these animals. We are just considering a few animals, so it is for the child to find and research about more animals. This is a model of the first classification of animal kingdom invertebrates blank chart. So you can see there are no pictures here, but there are some names written, and the activity is for the child to match the picture and keep it in the relevant space. These are the pictures that are used with the blank invertebrates first classification chart. I've given the pictures of the invertebrates only. Presentation 1, invertebrates, the classes of invertebrates and looking at phylum. The first animal we see is a horse that represents the animal kingdom. In the next row, we have a grasshopper, and this stands for all invertebrates. We will next look at 6 phyla. Montessori had included protozoa as it was earlier in the animal kingdom, but now it has a kingdom of its own. Please delete the protozoa when you make your chart. The division invertebrate is further classified into phylum. The 6 phyla looked at are Porifera, Coelenterata, worms or Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, and Echinodermata. We go through the characteristics of each phylum in detail. The first one is Porifera. The example is a sponge and comes first on the chart. They live in water. These are made of many cells and are called multicellular animals. The name given to this phylum is Porifera. Porifera comes from Latin, porus meaning pores, and fera meaning bearing. So pore, bearing. It is through these pores or holes that they take in water and send out waste. Now let us keep the picture of sponge in the space marked sponge. Keep the label Porifera above it, and below it keep the description card. And the main characteristic is colony of cells. So this is presented using the blank chart. The second one is Coelenterata or Cnidaria. All jellyfish belong to the phylum called Cnidaria, which was formerly called Coelenterata. It comes from the Greek word koilos, meaning cavity, and etron, meaning intestine. They are important as we have the beginning of organs. The body has a single opening that is surrounded by sensory tentacles, leading into a spacious cavity called the gastrovascular cavity or coelenteron. They live in water. Corals also belong to this phylum. So here the jellyfish, keep the picture, and then below it you keep the description as one opening, beginning of organs. The third one is worms or annelida. Earthworms are examples of segmented worms. They belong to the phylum Annelida or annelids. This comes from the Latin annulus, meaning small ring. In Italian, it means worms. They are extremely important and are the first animals with a digestive tube. So, when we say a digestive tube, it means there are two openings. One is the mouth and the other is the anus. They are multicellular and they mainly live on land and a few live in water. Examples are leeches, tapeworm, etc. So we keep the label worms, annelida, and below it we keep the picture of the earthworm, and below it the label reading two openings. The next is arthropoda. Ant is an example, and ant stands for the whole group or more advanced animals. Now we can see they have legs and these help in movement. Actually, the legs are special. They are jointed and belong to the phylum Arthropoda. It comes from the Greek word arthron, meaning joint, and pode, meaning foot. All animals with jointed legs are arthropods. Most arthropods live on land, but some live in water. So we place the label Arthropoda, then the picture of the ant, and then the description of animals with jointed legs. Next comes mollusca. The example is of a mussel. This animal looks like a shell. They have a soft body and is protected by the shell, also called mantle. As the body is very soft, the animals are called mollusks. Comes from the Latin mollis, meaning soft. Example is oyster, snail, etc. So keep the label mollusca and the picture of the mussel, and below it the characteristic card saying soft-bodied animals with a shell. The next is echinodermata. The example is of a starfish. Starfish live in water and moves by means of pedicels. They are rigid on the outside, while some appear smooth. They all have spines covering their upper surface and a soft underside. These animals belong to the phylum Echinodermata. This comes from the Greek word echinos, meaning spine, and derma, meaning skin. All echinoderms have 5-point radial symmetry, which means that their body plan has 5 sections or multiples thereof, arranged around a central disc. Example, sea urchins, brittle star, sea lilies, etc. So keep the label Echinodermata and below it the picture of the starfish, and then the characteristic cards saying spiny skinned. Move on to the second period. Can you find the first multicellular animal that lived in water? Can you show me the animal that started to have jointed legs? Which is the first animal with a digestive tube? And so on. In the third period, you can ask, can you tell me the name of the phylum of this animal? And so on. As we keep the labels, point to each animal and say, these are like sponges. These have a sac. These are worms. These have jointed legs. These look like shells. And these look like a star. Next, distribute the description cards. Children can read and match and place them in the space below the picture. The follow-up activities are draw and write. Children can draw and write their own descriptions. They can look into books for other examples of animals belonging to each of the 6 phylum. Then make note We can present the arthropods immediately or later, maybe after a few days. So we can stop here. Now the second presentation is where we present the classes of invertebrates. So here we are looking at the ant. The children can research the other invertebrates. Ant is an arthropod, and these pictures below are also arthropods, but they have some characteristics that distinguish them. Why do we have only arthropods on this chart? Though they are small, they are very important. There are arthropods with wings also. The other arthropods should be done later, or the other classes of invertebrates should be done later. In this chart, we will only do a few arthropods. Let us look at the class of arthropods. Remember, they all have jointed legs. We have 4 pictures below it. The first is of a myriapoda, and the example is a millipede. Millipede is also an arthropod that has long segmented body. It is characterized by having 2 pairs of jointed legs on most body segments. Each double-legged segment is a result of 2 single segments fused together as one. Although the name millipede derives from Latin for 1,000 legs, no known species has 1,000 legs. They belong to the class called myriapoda. This comes from Greek word myrios, meaning innumerable, and podos, meaning foot. So example is a centipede. So we keep the label myriapoda, and below it we keep the picture of the millipede, and then we put the characteristic, which is innumerable feet. The next one is arachnida. The example is a spider. All spiders belong to the family of arthropods, and this class is called arachnids. It comes from the Greek word arachon, meaning spider. They all have 4 pairs of legs. The head is fused with the chest. When head and thorax are fused, it is called cephalothorax. So they have a cephalothorax and abdomen. Arachnids are further distinguished from other arthropods by the fact they do not have antennae or wings. The term is derived from the Greek word arachne, meaning spider. Examples are scorpions, daddy long legs, etc. Keep the label arachnida, picture of spider, and below it the characteristic card saying spider, 4 pairs of legs, no antenna or wings. The next one is crustacea. The example is crayfish, and this represents a family. This is treated as a subphylum called crustacea. This comes from Latin word crusta, meaning crust. The crustacean body is protected by the hard exoskeleton, which must be molded for the animal to grow. Various parts of the exoskeleton may be fused together. The exoskeleton is made of calcium. The majority of crustaceans are aquatic, living in either marine or freshwater environments. But a few groups have adapted to life on land, such as terrestrial crabs, terrestrial hermit crabs, and woodlice. Other examples are crabs, lobsters, crayfish, shrimp, krill, and barnacles. So we keep the label crustacea, the picture of a crayfish, and then the card saying crust-like covering, which gives the characteristic of the animal. The next is insecta. The example is hornet or wasp. They belong to the class Insecta. It has an exoskeleton, a 3-part body, that is head, thorax, and abdomen, 3 pairs of jointed legs, compound eyes, and 1 pair of antennae. The word comes from Latin insectum, which means cut into sections. So we arrange the picture and the labels accordingly. After the first 2 presentations, we take a break here because there is a lot of work that the children have to do, and they need to be able to do research and find out more animals belonging to the phylum. Now we move on to the second period by asking questions and include descriptions in the second and third period. Ask child to name and describe them. Lay out the name labels and description cards on the chart in the right places. Now, make note, these 4 should be given to the child quickly. Examining insects can be done later. This is because insecta comes much later in the timeline of life and involves in pollination, etc. We can stop invertebrates and continue with vertebrates now. After the first 2 presentations, we take a break here because there is a lot of work that the children have to do and they need to be able to do research and find out more animals belonging to the phylum. Now we start the 3rd presentation, which is order of vertebrates. The material is the first classification spoken and mute charts of vertebrates, pictures, labels and description cards of fish. So here we are going to do the first presentation. Introduce a chart. This is the first classification mute chart of animals and we are going to look at vertebrates today. Keep the picture of horse for animal. Keep the label animal above it and the description of the animal card below the picture. Now this is the animal kingdom in vertebrate chart. So what we have done now is just introducing the kingdom and division. We should do it on this blank chart, not on the spoken chart. So I'll just introduce the kingdom and division. Then we move on to the class. So this is how it would look after you have finished your all the presentations. Animal kingdom vertebrate chart. Since we are going to look at vertebrates, we can keep the label and the picture of a tiger to represent all chordates. Also keep the description card on the chart. Next, keep the picture and description of a horse for division vertebrata. First one is fish, also known as Pisces. The first vertebrates to appear were fish. We will call them Pisces. It is a Latin word meaning fish. Let us say all the characteristics of a fish. We can use a herring to represent all fish. Keep picture on the chart. Read the label Pisces or fish and keep the label above the picture. Keep the description card below the picture on the chart. Fish live in water. They use fins to move. They have a backbone inside their body. They use 2 gills on either side to breathe. The oxygen which is dissolved in the water is taken in through the mouth and the wastewater is sent out through the gills. How do fish reproduce? They lay eggs in large numbers as many of the eggs get eaten. Of those that survive, not all are fertilized. Seahorse does not lay eggs. We have pictures of 4 fish. The first 3 are classified according to the vertebral column. Shark, cartilaginous. Sturgeon, both cartilaginous and bony. Tuna has only bony bones, so-called bony fish. The 4th is called lungfish and does not depend on this. Lungfish can breathe in water and can breathe the air out of water. Cetaceans. Shark belong to the order Cetaceans. Greek word selachos meaning cartilaginous fish. They are characterized by a cartilaginous skeleton. The mouth is not at the terminal end as other fish. They have ventral mouth which can't be closed properly. They have to swim continuously or rest on stones. They don't have a swim bladder. Example is ray. Lay the label above and the description card below the picture of the shark on the chart. In this way, do all the other fish. Ganoids. Example is a sturgeon. They are interesting as its skeleton is partly bone and partly cartilage. They belong to the order called ganoids. This comes from the Greek word ganos meaning splendor or like enamel. These fish have ganoids scales. Example, bowfins and gar. In this kind of fish, the scale is hard and bony with a shiny surface composed of an enamel-like substance. Teleosts, tuna, or also called tunny, have hard bones. All fish with hard bones are called teleosts. The name is derived from Greek teleosis, meaning complete, and osteon, meaning bone. Dipnons. Lungfish is an example. These types of fish are called dipnons. This comes from the Greek word dipnos, meaning double respiration. It lives in water and uses gills. It also has a bladder which acts as a lung, and so it can breathe in air also. They are found in warm water. Now, if you look at the chart, we can see we have done the first part of the chart, which is about fish. So now we will move on to the next one. But before that, we have got to do some more activities with the fish. Now we can do second and third periods by removing all the pictures, labels and description cards. Let the children place the pictures on the chart and match the labels. Then read the description cards and keep it below the picture on the chart. Take the spoken chart and check the work done on the mute chart. Note, we have a choice of going back to the invertebrate chart and doing insects, or we can continue with vertebrates. Next comes amphibia. The amphibia, here we have the material, which is a vertebrate chart with pictures, labels and description cards of amphibia. We can see through two pictures, so two groups of amphibians. One is for a frog and the other of a salamander. The grouping is based on whether the amphibian has a tail or not. Anura is the frog. It belongs to the order called Anura, and Anura is from ancient Greek, which means without, and aura means tail. So amphibians without tail. Next one is the salamander. It belongs to the order Urodela. From Latin, euro means tail and delos means evident. So amphibians with tails. And another example is a newt. Do the second and third periods also and place the cards on the chart. The follow-up is do group exercise with labels and also with description cards. Check with the spoken chart. Do research using books. After we do fish and amphibians, we can again come back to invertebrates. In the next video, we will look at the fourth presentation, that is order of insects. This is done in the second and third year of elementary, that is age 7 to 9 years. We will continue with the first classification of animal kingdom in the next video, and the presentations will be, the fourth presentation will be order of insecta, fifth presentation will be order of reptilia, sixth presentation is order of birds or aves, and the seventh presentation will be order of mammalia. So this will be in the next video. That brings us to the end of Zoology Part 3, first classification of animal kingdom. Thank you for watching. This is Geeta Vijaychandran signing off.
Montessori Grandma.